Hi guys, this is Ishai Breslauer with the CRE Shark Eye Show. How are you today? I hope you're doing fine because today we have a very special guest and a friend, Jack Dweck, and there's so many things that we're going to learn today. And I hope you guys are going to keep it together and stay tuned because we're not going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about how to pivot. We're going to talk about how to get better. We're going to talk about how to overcome adversity. And Jack is a living, how do you say, he's a living example, living role model that will teach us about this. And I have such a pleasure to have him today. Jack, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Shai. Great to see you again.
Pleasure, pleasure. It's been a while, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to meet live again, Bezrat Hashem, please
Yep,
God.
yep.
Um, and we share so many things in common. We have so many things that we love to talk about, ranging from real estate to Judaism and things like that. But what I want to do, first of all, you know what? Let's start with that. Let's start with, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do today? And what is your business? And then we'll start talking about the rest of the stuff. So let's start with
Okay.
now.
Well, I have a history in working in commercial real estate, but what we do today is mostly focused on energy and finance. We create new income streams for commercial landlords by converting their electricity expense into a profit center for them. And it's really unique and it's exciting. And we have about 400 buildings in the portfolio. We operate in 10 states. We have some of the largest commercial real estate landlords in the country as clients and partners, really, and that's going very well. In my spare time, I run the largest retail energy conference in North America. It's called the Energy Marketing Conference, and actually, it's coming up in 5 days. So right after this interview, I'm going to jump right back into it and work on that. And then in my spare time, I write books and I tickle my grandchildren.
That sounds awesome. And soon by me, please God, meaning I have one married daughter and Bezrat Hashem. But what I want to tell you is, first of all, before we start, because this show we're going to go a little bit more into the personal, I would say, development side of things. And beforehand, since you're so involved in the office space, I just want to give the listeners what your take is on what's going on with office space beforehand, if you could tell us briefly, and what's the future of it. What do you think?
Yeah, a bunch of famous people have said, "Don't bet against New York City." It's been quoted by a lot of people, and it was quoted after 9/11, and it's being quoted again now. And I'm a believer that the office space market is going to open up again, despite the changes, the permanent changes. I would say that you could see where I'm working right now. It's not my office, obviously,
Yes.
right? I have a home office, but luckily. But I do believe the business, the office business. I'm a big advocate and a big bull of long-term success in that market for offices. I will tell you, I work my office is in a 1 million square foot building in downtown Brooklyn. It's called Metrotech Center, and just similar to my clients' buildings, the building is basically 15% occupied, but it's 97% paying. So, for example, my company, we're paying our rent every month. We're not all there. Some people come, some people don't. We have a schedule who shows up in the office, but we're not paying our rent. We have a 5-year lease. It's a Class A building. We're paying our rent. We're not playing games with that. And I think 99% or like I say, 97% of the tenants are similar to me, where they're paying the rent. I think there's very small people, maybe month to month kind of guys, different, but anybody with a long-term lease is going to stay with that program. There's no substitute for working together in the same office, meeting together. Advocate of Zoom. I'm a stockholder of Zoom, thank God. But I don't
Thank God.
I don't think it's purely the future.
Tell me something. Just the last thing about this. How long until you think, meaning nobody has a crystal ball as we call it, but how long do you think until New York is back? Because I hear all kind of things. I have my own opinion about it. But I want to hear
That's a
yours.
great question. I actually run a retail energy conference in New York every fall, and we're just talking about that right now. How many attendees are we going to have in Midtown Hilton in New York City in October? It's a big question, and we're actually going back and forth with the Hilton about this right now. I don't have a crystal ball. You're right. I do think that when you say back, I mean, I was in the city the last 4 business days, every single day for at least 4 hours. And I think it is relatively back in terms of office.
I'm talking about the market. I'm talking about valuation of the market.
Yeah, I mean, oh, you're talking about retail is
Not retail.
was
right.
retail was going down anyway. Before this, I was in Whole Foods yesterday, jam packed. I mean,
100%.
Trader Joe's. If you have the right product and service, and you're in the retail space, you'll do fine. If you're trying to compete with Amazon, forget it. It's not going to work.
Right.
So I think another 6 months, and especially with the vaccinations and everything else, I think it'll be fine.
All right. I hope you're right, because my thoughts are not there. I'm thinking. I heard already people saying 10 years, New York City will be back. Some people said 2 years. Some people said, I think around the 4 to 5 years, meaning it's going to go nuts, meaning people who are going to get into New York City anywhere between now and a year and a half from now are going to make a killing. Whoever is capable, of course, you need deep pockets, in order to do that. But those who are capable, I think, will make a killing. That's my assumption. In 4 years, we're going to see the whole business in New York City skyrocketing. Anyways, that's my opinion. I want to go now and dwell into what we are going to talk about in the show. And before we start that, tell us about, you just spoke about grandchildren. So tell us a little bit about yourself way back, how it all started for you in the beginning, how you got into this business, and how you got into the professional world in the very, very beginning.
Well, okay. So very, very beginning. Well, I won't go that far back, but I'll go back to before the financial crisis. I ran a company that was $1.4 billion of discretionary assets. We had a large real estate portfolio. We have a lending portfolio. It was a big hedge fund, private equity fund. And the financial crisis really humbled a lot of people and humbled me. It was a rough time. We were in the eye of the storm. We were doing mezzanine loans on real estate, bridge loans.
Wow.
We had developments in Florida. Every area that you have ever heard of that imploded, we were in those areas. So it was a difficult time. I personally lost over $40 million personally in the real estate crisis. And it was a tremendous learning experience. The team that I had, a lot of the major players and my partner, Rick Rudy, we stayed together after the crisis, and we worked very hard on rebuilding our business. The last 10 years, we started over 15 different businesses in the last 10 years. 12 of them didn't work out. And we are running 3 of them now. And they're all related, but not all of them were related. So we did a lot of work making our comeback, and in that process, as we talked about this, I wrote a book about comebacks and overcoming adversity during the financial crisis. While the world was imploding on me, my business was disappearing. There were lawsuits all over the place. I was suing. People were suing me. I was suing them. The whole thing was just horrible. My father passed away. Then my mother passed away unexpectedly. Then my best friend passed away. So it was just an incredible amount of adversity all at the same time. Thank God I can smile about it now and say I'm past it. And the sadness and all that doesn't completely go away, but you move your life forward and you build it, and that's really what my passion is giving webinars and talks and classes and speeches about how to overcome adversity. And I work with dozens of people who are going through really difficult times right now, and that's my passion. I don't do it for a living. I do it as a volunteer, of course. But that's my main passion in life.
Sounds amazing. And now digging into this topic, right? You just right before the show, you showed me a book which I didn't know you have, and it's a must read, and I have to get it. And we're going to talk about it later. But the book is called Six Steps to Overcoming Adversity. 6 Steps to Overcoming Adversity by Jack Dweck. How to turn setbacks into comebacks, which is amazing. That's a beautiful type of a cover and a message. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, the truth is the book I didn't start writing this book during the financial crisis or after. I actually started it before the financial crisis. We had some other adversity way back before the financial crisis. And that's when I started teaching in Baruch College and City University of New York. As a volunteer, I would teach the management students, the juniors and seniors, about overcoming adversity. And that's where it started. I would talk to them about the progression to what we call inflection points, where you have some success and then you have a very serious adverse setback, and what you do when you have that setback will determine whether your business will go back up or it doesn't have to be a business. It could be a team, an organization, it could be a family, it could be a marriage. When you have a setback, and what you do when you have that setback will determine your future. And you won't have one setback. You'll have dozens of setbacks. So the road to success is never a straight line. It's always with ups and downs. The companies that don't do the right thing at the setbacks are companies like Toys R Us, are companies like dozens and dozens of retail companies, not just retail, but other companies that just basically disappeared. And the companies that when they have setbacks are able to use a methodology to overcome and to grow from them are doing incredibly well. I'll give one great example. I have a million examples.
Before you continue, Jack, sorry for interrupting. I want to hear it. Okay. But if we could go back to seeing both of us, because I think this is it's important that we'll focus on you and hear the message from you. Go ahead.
No, so if you look at a company like IBM, for example, right? What did they do when I was a kid? When I was coming out of college, they were selling big mainframe computers bigger than the room I'm sitting in right now, right? Where right. you can put that power right now in the palm of your hand. So that company should have gone out of business, right? That company should have gone out of business. They were in the hardware business. And not even much software. People had to write software for them. I was one of the people that wrote software for IBM. And I couldn't believe how IBM completely transformed their whole business into a service and software company. And that's really what they did, and incredibly well. So they're able to take what they had. They used the power and the benefit of the brand that they built and the quality of people that they had in their teams, and they just said, you know what? Let's turn into what the customer needs, and they survived. And there are numerous cases and examples like that. I talk about in my book. One I'll just give you one more example. Coca-Cola was under a lot of pressure many years ago from Pepsi. Pepsi was the number 2 brand.
Right, back in the 80s, Right, back in the 80s, it was. It was back in the 80s, if I recall correctly.
It was in the 80s, maybe early 90s, and the Pepsi had Michael Jackson, the singer, the entertainer, behind them. Commercials. It's the new generation, and all the young people were drinking Pepsi, and Coke was for old fogies.
Right.
And then Coke came out with a product called New Coke, and they said we're going to fight against Pepsi. They stopped delivering the old Coke. They have a new formula. They put new commercials, new product. They sent millions and millions and millions of dollars of new product to distributors, and they're going to now compete with Pepsi. And guess what happened?
If I recall correctly, they did not succeed on that.
Right.
Because if I recall correctly, test me on that one. If I recall correctly, the story was that old taste, that new taste, people all of a sudden it actually came out for them, because then people came out and said, "Hey, I want my Coke," and then they came back with it, and then they crushed it. Is that correct?
Exactly right. So the new Coke was a disaster, and IBM, in my opinion, followed what I believe to be 6 specific steps to overcome this incredible setback. They could have put them out of business, by the way. And I'll tell you about them in a minute. But basically, at the end of the day, like you said, you're 100% right. They discontinued New Coke. They took it all back and threw it in the garbage can. And then they came out with a product called Coke Classic.
Right.
And Coke Classic tripled their market share. All of a sudden, Coke became the brand, and everybody wanted to have Coke because of the way they handled their setback. And it's really a great study. It's a great study. So it's a great study in what to do when you hit that inflection point and how to take it and turn it into an advantage. And that's exactly what they did. In fact, when the old Coke came back, they literally had to interrupt, C-SPAN, network when they were having a White House press release or something, and they stopped and they said, Coke has come back with Coke Classic. It was such tremendous news for America. It was amazing. A great example is Lexus. Lexus, Toyota was always known as like a mediocre car company. You know what I mean? They had the Toyota Celica. When I was a kid, I was 18. I had a Celica. It was cheap cars. And Toyota said, let's compete with Mercedes-Benz. Let's compete with BMW. And let's come up with a car. So they spent billions of dollars and they built a car called the Lexus. And guess what happened?
I don't remember what happened then. I know what's happening today with it.
Okay, so what happened in Lexus in the beginning was they pulled it off. They sold this expensive car. And then within a short period of time, they found a problem with the car. And
what was that?
Right. What's that?
Some technical problem.
Some technical problem. Yeah. And that was about to destroy their premium business.
Yeah.
But what did Toyota do to deal with that problem? And that's what I talk about in my book. And I mean, they quickly went to every customer, regardless of whether they got complaints or not, gave them a loaner, took back the car, had it 24 hours later. They had their car back, shine, buffed, perfect condition. And the way they handled the adversity, they went public with it. We're sorry. We made a mistake. We're fixing it. This is what it looks like, blah, blah, blah. And what ended up happening was every single customer who was one of those customers at the time and saw how Toyota dealt with their adversity and the service and the quality that they got back said they would never buy another car again but Lexus.
That's incredible.
The way they handled it. So Lexus became a gigantic brand, and I believe it's arguable, but it's how they dealt with their adversity. Right now, the commercial real estate business is going through tremendous adversity. I have one friend, for example, who's got over 100 buildings with retailers in them. I have another friend that is in 3. He just called me. I'm in 3 categories that are getting destroyed. I'm hospitality. My hotels are empty. I'm in commercial office. My buildings are 15% occupied. And I'm in retail, and I can't convince them to come back.
That's crazy adversity.
So what do I do? And how do I overcome this? And how do I turn this into a positive somehow? And how do I see the light at the end of the tunnel? And these are the questions.
So you know what? Let's stop that for a second, because this is really interesting. And before we continue, because I want to hear something specific about this, what you said before, I heard from Tony Robbins at a certain point that he said that any company that comes into the market at the time, no matter which era they came into the market, when they were in love with their product, they're dead. When they get a certain point, obviously, when their product is not relevant anymore, but if their love is their client, their customer, that's where they can pivot and they can win and they can overcome that adversity. But I'm going back to what you just said, by the way, about the commercial real estate, your friend that is being in 3 asset classes that are basically he's facing crazy stuff. Can you share with us what you told him in general, how to do it, or what's your advice to that type of a person who's going through that type of adversity on the emotional, spiritual level in order to how to overcome that? And also, in terms of the technical level of the real estate part, because you went through so much, you have so much experience going through that type of turmoil, what would you say?
Well, I'll tell you what I talk about all the time, and I say it to myself when I have adversity, which happens every day, right? Everybody faces challenges and obstacles and disappointments every single day. I sometimes give classes and speeches where I say, you know, raise your hand if there's no one in your life that's going through a tough time, you know, and every single hand, you know, of course, is not, no one raises a hand because everybody knows someone going through something. Someone very, very close to me just found out they have cancer, a very serious situation. Another friend of mine lost her daughter, 32 years old, out of nowhere. She wasn't even sick, you know. So there are really levels. I mean, you can't compare anybody's pain, but I believe there's really a very clear way to deal with it from an emotional point of view. From the business side, it's a different conversation. Obviously, the strategy and the tactics of how to reinvent yourself and how to use your what you have, the positives of your business and turn it into something positive. I heard literally yesterday, the building that Barney's was in for I don't know how many years, 40 years or something, in Manhattan they're turning it into a hotel. You know, they're reinventing themselves. But going back, so I believe there are basically six steps to
right. This is exactly what I wanted to ask you. You wrote, because your book, the whole name of the book is 6 Steps to Overcoming Adversity. And I really want you to now please dig in. I'm so curious about understanding those 6 steps specifically, and to take us through it, go through it. So obviously the people who are watching it can see it, but the people who are listening without watching it, if you could be as elaborate, meaning if you could elaborate as much as you can about each and every step, so everybody can understand what is your message.
Okay, well,
what's the way to do it. Go ahead.
I'll do Yeshaya, thank you. I'll do a very shortened version of this because I don't know how much time we have. But first of all, what these steps have in common is that they don't come naturally, and what comes naturally is not good for you. So the first thing when I came in Monday morning in September of 2009, and I found out that there was a bank, and I talk about it in my book, Chorus Bank, went out of business, and I lost $60 million over the weekend. My first reaction, what do you think my first reaction was to that?
What do I think? I'll tell you what I think.
I reacted when I found out about that online. That the bank.
So I think you found, I mean, the first reaction is usually anxiety, meaning usually you feel absolute fear.
But before the fear, my first reaction was like most people. No. I didn't read that right. It's not possible. This bank has $100 billion of assets.
Right. That's the first second. You're right.
Right. My first reaction was denial. This did not happen. So my first step in overcoming adversity is acceptance. It's having faith. It's facing into the adversity with optimism and fighting that instinctive that instinct you have to not accept. I know people that have lost people in their lives and they still a year later don't accept that the person is gone. It's unbelievable. So first step is to accept it. And the only way to do that is with a little bit of optimism. I'm going to get through this. You can't accept it if you can't get through it. In my book, I put some cartoons. I try to make it a little funny, but the reality is that's step number 1. Step number 2 is once you accept that this thing happened, the second thing, your natural reaction is to start blaming people. How could this guy do that? How could that guy do this? The president is there. This guy screwed me. That's what naturally happens second. So the second step is to let go of the blame, of the bitterness, of the resentment, and to try to forgive yourself and others so that you can get to the next step. I'm not saying forgive and, okay, Bernie Madoff stole money from you, so let's go do more business with him. I'm not saying that. But actually, the more you are angry at Bernie Madoff for stealing money from you or whatever the thing may be, the president for how he handled the coronavirus or whatever it is, the more you're angry and bitter about that, the less chance you have. First of all, that you're tethered to them and you can't get yourself mentally out of that. You can't move on. So the only way to, in my book, I talk about a person who was able to let go. I talk about many people. One was a Holocaust survivor, Edith Eger, wrote books, has been literally saving lives with her books in her 90s. It's kind of incredible. She talks about how she forgave. When I say forgive, I don't mean what other people mean by forgive. I mean, let go of the anger with the Nazis. And the
let
same
go of
thing
the
with
anger,
another young
or
woman.
also, could you also call that let go of the past, meaning let go of what happened, meaning
Yeah, absolutely.
look forward, meaning the past.
Exactly. I have one paragraph in my book, one chapter in my book that's called "Stop Playing the Rewind Button." And one of my friends, when the crisis was happening, I kept on telling him we had this, we had that, and he said, "Jack, stop it. Stop hitting rewind on the tape recorder. Start hitting play and move forward." And you can't move forward if you're still bitter and enraged and have resentment. It's just not going to work. The third step is, once you're over the first two, is in every adversity, there's a seed of an equivalent or greater benefit, meaning that's Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, meaning you have to learn the lesson. My partner, Rick, always tells me.
One of my favorite books, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, great. My partner, Rick Rudy, always tells me, we pay the tuition in the loss or in the sadness or the disappointment or we pay the tuition, might as well learn the lesson. And I feel like there's a way, the way the world works, the way God works, I think, is if you don't learn the lesson, unfortunately, you have to relearn it and you have to go through another thing to get that lesson. So the third step is to find a lesson in every adversity. And it's not just adversity, it's every single day that we're around. We should be finding things to learn and grow. And that's true of what's going on right now with Corona. It's true of every situation that we're in. What we can learn about this, not necessarily to prevent it from happening again, but even just to learn about the situation that the person is in. Okay, we have this cancer. How do we deal with it? Who do we talk to? Who are the best doctors? What are the percentages? How do the treatments work? What's the mortality rate? Learn as much as you can about your adversity and about what led up to it. The fourth step, once you get through those, is the most important step of the six. And this is the one that prevents suicide. It prevents long-term depression. And that is, look at the abundance and the blessings that you have and find a way to appreciate. I'm going to stop my share now. Find a way to appreciate what the benefits you have. If you're a company, look at your business and say, what do we have going for us? Your IBM, you have one of the best brands in the world. You know, your Radio Shack, you have a great brand. Maybe we can convert Radio Shack into stores that do servicing, and like IBM did, but Radio Shack didn't think that way. So Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So the fourth step is to take an inventory of the blessings and abundance you have in your 5 dimensions of your life. Your physical, if your personal, it's a personal thing. I have this broken arm, yes, but my other arm works, and I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch, I can breathe, right? So I have physical health, physical blessing. I have financial health. I have spiritual, mental, and emotional. And if you go through that, what I did when I was depressed during the financial crisis, I made index cards. I wish I brought one for you to show you. I might even have them here. But anyway, I had index cards. Each index card was a different dimension of my life: my physical life, my financial life, my spiritual life, my mental life, my emotional life. Mental is intellectual and emotional is relationships. And I wrote literally on the cards what I am thankful for. And I read them every morning when I woke up, and I read them every night before I went to sleep. And if something bad happened that day, which a lot of times it did, I opened my cards and read them again. Why? Because I'm changing my mindset. I'm changing my mindset from sadness and anxiety and fear and worry to, look what I do have already. I still have these things. They didn't disappear. Why? When I was writing my book, there was a gentleman.
Tell me something about those index cards. Was it on each index cards, which was about each and every part of our lives, like you just spoke about? Was it a lot of stuff, or just like the one thing or two things?
What was it? As much as I could fit on the card.
I got it. Okay, that's a good tip.
So I have, not only do I have index cards, but I have Megillas. I have a lot of other stuff that I wrote, and part of what I show you in my book, I'll show you the little advertising here. This is the actual book. What I do in the book is I give you the index cards in the book, and I give you exercises One of them I call the happiness game. Basically, add something to it every day, rearrange it, prioritize it. So when I was writing this book, there was a gentleman who was a wholesale company on 37th Street, Manhattan, and he right in the garment district. And he got a call from Walmart that one of the big orders was being canceled. He hung up the phone. He called his wife, told her he loves her, and he jumped out the window. Now, this is a guy that was, generally speaking, successful. He had a lot of blessings in his life. He had a beautiful family. He owned 2 homes. He had everything. He was religious. What happened? What happened was he lost perspective. He just focused completely on this order and what it was going to do to him. And a lot of people, unfortunately, committed suicide during the financial crisis. Many as a result of Bernie Madoff, but not only because of Bernie Madoff. And I knew some of these people. And I believe many of them, I know many of them had huge blessings in their lives. They had other businesses that they had family that loved them, but they couldn't think about that. And when I was depressed, I was clinically depressed during the financial crisis when my father passed away in 2011. I couldn't think about anything but what was going on, but the sadness. And to get myself out of it, the index cards saved my life. So that's step number 4, and that's appreciate. Step number 5 is give. What does that mean? It means find a way, even though you're going through a rough time, find a way to volunteer, to give more charity, not less, to help others in their situation. Because when you do that, it's the most selfish thing you can do in the world. It revives you. It gives you a chance. You know, I spoke to someone yesterday who said to me, why did God give me cancer? And you know, what did I do? What did I do to deserve it? I ate healthy my whole life. I exercise every day. What the hell is this? And I said to her, I think maybe you're getting cancer. And no, this person also took people to treatments and volunteered for visiting people and helping them with the dialysis, with kidney, all kinds of stuff. I said, you're gonna get through it. You're gonna get cured. And then you are going to be the person, the go-to person. Anyone that has cancer from then on is going to call you and say, how did you get through it? What did you do? Well, who should I talk to? How do I get through emotionally? How do I get to sleep at night? And you're going to be able to take this and use it to enrich and enhance and improve the lives of others. And all of a sudden, I got a big smile out of her. Big smile. Okay, I'm in. So I'm not just saying that. It really, really, truly helps you when you think in terms of turn yourself inside out and think about how I'm going to use this to help others, not just in the future, but even tomorrow. I can help others, support groups, etc. And then finally, step number 6, and then if you want to translate that into a business situation, it's customer first, like you said before, customer centric. What did Lexus do? What did Coke do? They listened and they took action based on what their customers were telling them. And that's step number 6. Take decisive action. The biggest problem that we have today in our businesses and our homes and our families, our marriages, our organization. I've been coaching basketball for a long, long time, is that we don't make decisions. We just let things go the way they were going, and nothing happens that way. You must take a risk and be a leader and make decisions. And that's how you're going to get yourself over adversity. And to me, you could see the passion in my voice. This is what I'm here to do in this world. I feel like my business is, thank God, everything's going fine now, and I'm over the crisis and I'm doing fine. And that's a way to support my family and to support my number one passion, which is trying to help people overcome adversity.
I think this is a message for everybody who is going through something. And anyone who's going through something, and so many of us are going through stuff, during this year. So many of us went through things, and it's a wake-up call to know that you shouldn't just dwell in your issues, dwell in your, whatever you're going through, and to actually look out. Once you look out, you're not gonna look in. You're not gonna look in anymore, and you'll be able to overcome that and feel like a human being because you're helping someone. So I agree with that 100%. But which step was that?
The last one is take decisive action. That's step 6.
Okay. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit about
so that's step 6 is once you have accepted, you're not in denial. You're not holding any grudges. That's step number 2. Step number 3, learning everything you can learn about this. Step number 4, you're evaluating your blessings. You're taking an inventory, a 5-dimensional inventory. Step number 5 is finding a way to give back. And then step number 6 is, okay, now let's act. People make the mistake of starting with step 6. Okay, this thing happened to me. Let's wait, slow down.
Okay, wait a second.
10 minutes and go through.
Talk about this for a second. Why is it a mistake to take action right away?
Because you're not ready yet. You may be acting, instinctively out of anger. You may be, let's fire this guy. The amazing thing about Lexus and Coke both, they didn't fire one person. They didn't blame it. They didn't play the blame game. They didn't say, oh, that's the person that created the code. This guy was responsible for that flaw in the electronics and the Lexus. Let's fire that guy and go public and say, that guy's not here anymore. So no, that's the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is it doesn't take long. It takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just go through your mind as to, let's make sure when I start my decision, when I make my decision, I'm acting rationally. I'm speaking to people. I'm getting advice. I'm getting feedback, and then I'm acting. My biggest mistakes were I acted too fast. It's a personal flaw of mine. I'm very quick on the trigger, and I got to slow myself down. Thank God I have an unbelievable business partner for 30 years, Rick Rudy, who's much more methodical than me, and in a lot of ways he's just like having a psychologist in your office every day. My partner Rick. So it's been fantastic because he slows me down and says, wait, slow down. Let's see. We're doing this deal now. We were doing this finance deal, this energy finance deal. And, I'm all gung-ho, and he's looking at it and saying, 1 minute, let's put in some safeguards. And if they're not going to accept the safeguards, then maybe we just walk away. Yeah, I know we spent 6 months working on this. That's okay. Let's play it safe. And that's the kind of partner everybody needs. If there's someone like me, that's the partner everybody needs.
Right. The right partnerships basically is to complete each other, just like marriage.
Compliment.
That's the idea. And
Yep.
Hopefully everybody should have that. First of all, it sounds incredible. All those, meaning that there's a method, that those steps are really, it's a blueprint for anyone who's going through stuff, what they should do in order to get themselves straight. And like you said, it's not something that it's a months ahead type of work. It could be happening in minutes. Once you have that, your brain or your mind is in a different place. And I love that part. By the way, I just want to share with you, you said, we spoke about the customer, right? We spoke about the customer. And at a certain point, just recently, I saw an old video of Jeff Bezos, right?
Yeah.
Amazon, and he spoke about that, and that was very cool. And the interviewer is asking him, what are you going to do? And he's talking about the books and how he starts and what he's going to do. That's in the 90s, like in very, very beginning. And he talks about this whole thing. And then he tells him, tell me about the product. He said, no. So he tells him all the time, no, it's about what we're going to give customer. It's a customer experience, and that's what we're going to do. And then he goes to another topic, and he goes again, and that product said, no, it's not about that. It's all about giving great customer experience. So he says to him, yeah, but you're not positive, cash flow yet, and your company is not making money. He says, no, it's not about that yet. It's about giving the customer the best experience. And he said it like 3 or 4 times to tell the interviewer, you're asking the wrong questions because the focus is how to give. The focus is how to put yourself out there to give great service. That's the point.
You're hitting it right on the nose. In fact, I think we've come full circle. So what I do for a living is I create income streams for commercial landlords. What people are doing now, especially in 2020, 2021, is they're using this income stream as a tenant improvement, tenant slush fund, so that the tenant experience in their office buildings, and in some cases it's not only office buildings, we have malls, we have in some industrial, they're going back to the tenants and saying, we figured out a way to cut out the middleman and turn the electricity expense into a profit center, and we're going to share that with our tenants to make your experience here even better. And that's turning tenants into lifelong fans. and they're getting referrals for business because of that. And that's what really this is all about. And then it doesn't cost the commercial office landlords anything to do something like this. It's a mindset. It's, oh, we have this new income stream. What is it per foot? Okay, let's plow it back into our tenants and let them feel good about the fact that they are paying the rent, even if they're not necessarily one of the things, not necessarily in the office. One of the things that Metrotech is doing, which is owned by Brookfield, which is one of the largest landlords in the world, is if there is any case of COVID in my building, they send out a mass email to everyone, every single tenant, saying COVID case was found. It's on floor number 20 and office number 6, and if you want to stay away from that floor, we don't blame you, blah, blah, blah. In other words, they're being very transparent. They're making things easy, and they're making you feel safe and comfortable. And that's what it's all about.
Beautiful. What did you want to show us in the second meeting? Obviously, we'll have to explain it for the people who are listening to us in audio.
What's that? No, I wanted to show you the inflection points. Some of the webinars that I do for businesses, I show this graph. This is for people that can't see it. It's a graph of like the success, from beginning to end, but it's not a straight line. It has these inflection points. It has these setbacks. And like I said, what people do during those setbacks will determine their future. I have this hunch that, people that have, not hunch, I've interviewed hundreds of people for this book and over the years, and the people, I don't know anyone. I really don't know anyone who went straight to the top without any problems. Most 100% of the people that I know that are successful in business, in life, in their marriages, are people who have had to deal with crazy, crazy adversity that you don't wish on your worst enemy. I know someone who just passed away recently. He was an amazing man, a good friend of mine. When he came to this country from Egypt, he lived in a one-room apartment over a store. He didn't speak one word of English. When he passed away, he was a multi-billionaire with hundreds of buildings, an incredible family, a house on the ocean in Deal, New Jersey. He lived an incredible life, but he always reminded me of where he came from, and he always reminded himself of where he came from. So, I do believe that adversity could be, and I talk about it in the book about Beethoven. A lot of people have gone through. Imagine you're Beethoven, you can't hear. What does that mean? And he composed deaf, not all his stuff, but a lot at the end of his life. He was deaf when he composed his greatest things.
That is unbelievable. You know what? I'm always thinking about that.
We should be running away from adversity. We should be embracing it and using it to move our lives forward.
It's amazing. The way I want to end is, and I know that this book and everything that you do is about giving. So I feel funny of doing it because you don't need the promotion, because you have businesses and you are a real estate guy, etc. But how can people get a hand of this book? How can people get a hold of it?
It's simple. Amazon.com. It's the only publisher we have.
I got it.
6 Steps to Overcoming Adversity. We are coming out with a new, what do you call that? Where you speak the book. What is that? Audible. Yeah, Audible. It's on Audible. The old version's on Audible. It's on Kindle. So for $1.50 or $2, they can watch it on. They can just read
Audible,
it on Kindle.
You recorded it? You spoke into it?
No.
You got some.
I hired a professional
narrator. Yeah.
But I need to do that again because that's the old version of the book. This is the new edition now. It's much, much better. And I just hired a new editor and a new graphic designer. And thank God it's come a long way, and we're very excited about it. And, the other thing that I am happy to do, if anybody's listening to this that would want me to speak in their organization or their company or their, nonprofit or for-profit, doesn't matter. Happy to do it. I'm very cheap. I'm free, and I'm happy to help wherever I can.
That sounds incredible. And I'll tell you also, anyone who's listening to this, look, we're going to have the links here on top or the bottom in order to be able to get to Jack and to be able to see if he's available. He's a busy man, but as we heard, it's his passion to help out and to get people out of their adversity and to get better. And this is the time to do it. This is a year that so many people went through so many things. We need more Jacks, as we call it. We need more people who are positive. We need more people to teach us how to deal with things and to get better and to do the right thing for ourselves, for our families, for our businesses, etc. Jack, I really thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And really, it's been a pleasure. Stick around for a second because I'm going to just say the last remarks. You guys, thank you for listening to the CRE Shark Eye Show. Again, you have all the links above, below, everything that you need to hear. And I'm going to see you guys in the next show. Thank you so much.